90. 1940. Station 9, The Fryth, Welwyn Garden City. A British engineer named Vivian Martin Gwilliam demonstrates something impossible to the Chief Commissioner of Police. He's smoking a tobacco pipe. Nothing unusual. He converses, gestures naturally, takes another draw. Then, mid-sentence, he fires a .22 caliber round into a sandbag 5 feet away. Not one person in the room heard the shot. Not one person noticed the weapon, because the weapon was the pipe itself. What they're witnessing is a murder weapon so perfectly disguised that a man could smoke it while standing next to his target, offer a German officer a light for his cigarette, and pull the trigger during the exchange. The ultimate betrayal of social trust. This is the story of how British engineers created a pistol you could literally smoke while it was loaded, and why this perfect deception terrified British planners so much they refused to issue it. Summer 1940. France had fallen. Holland, Belgium, Denmark, Norway, all under German occupation. And in those occupied territories, German officers moved with impunity. Gestapo commanders, SS leaders, Wehrmacht staff officers, high-value targets whose deaths would disrupt operations, lower morale, spread fear through the occupation forces. British Special Operations Executive needed to eliminate these men. But conventional assassination methods failed catastrophically. A knife required grappling distance and left blood evidence. Poison took time and could be traced through autopsies. Conventional pistols created noise that brought reinforcements within seconds. Even the Welrod's silent pistol, which achieved 73 decibels, required drawing, aiming, and firing. Actions that gave guards time to react. More critically, any weapon discovered during searches meant immediate arrest and execution. German security forces patted down suspects routinely. A hard metal object discovered in an inside pocket meant the agent was compromised before the mission even began. Britain needed weapons that could pass the most thorough search. Weapons that deployed instantly without obvious movement. Weapons designed specifically for killing during handshakes, conversations, social interactions where conventional weapons became liabilities. The answer couldn't be obviously military. It had to be something so innocuous that German security forces would handle it, examine it, even return it to the agent after inspection. Most critically, it had to allow the operative to appear completely natural, completely innocent, completely unarmed, even while holding the loaded weapon in their hands. Vivian Martin Gwilliam approached the problem as both engineer and psychologist. He understood that the perfect disguise wasn't just visual. It had to be functional. A pipe that couldn't actually be smoked would fail inspection the moment a suspicious guard asked the agent to demonstrate. The design was elegant in its simplicity. The pipe appeared completely conventional. Briarwood bowl, curved stem, the kind carried by thousands of British gentlemen. But the stem wasn't hollow for smoke. It was a rifled .22 caliber barrel approximately 3 inches long. The bowl contained the firing mechanism, trigger, and a single .22 long rifle cartridge. Overall length 6 inches. Weight 4 ounces, matching a quality tobacco pipe perfectly. The caliber was chosen for three critical reasons. First, the small cartridge fit within the pipe bowl without creating suspicious bulk. Second, .22 ammunition was available throughout occupied Europe. Third, at contact distance, a .22 long rifle round delivered adequate stopping power when placed correctly. Here's what most people misunderstand about .22 caliber for assassination work. The round doesn't need to stop a charging attacker. It needs to kill a stationary, unsuspecting target at conversational distance. Professional assassins from Mossad, CIA, and intelligence services worldwide used suppressed .22 caliber weapons for decades, because at contact range, shot placement matters more than caliber. The firing mechanism was mechanical simplicity itself. No external hammer, no visible trigger, no obvious weapon components. The user loaded the weapon by unscrewing the bowl, inserting a single cartridge, and reassembling. Cocking occurred through a small knurled section disguised as decorative banding around the pipe bowl. A quarter turn positioned the firing pin. Firing required pressing a concealed button integrated into the pipe stem. The critical innovation was this: the weapon could be loaded, cocked, and smoked simultaneously. The tobacco packed in the bowl sat in a separate chamber, isolated from the firing mechanism. An agent could light the pipe, take actual draws, produce visible smoke, all while the weapon remained ready to fire. German security forces examining the pipe would see tobacco residue, smell burned leaf, observe the agent smoking casually. They would never suspect the stem doubled as a barrel. Martin Gwilliam demonstrated this during his presentation in 1940. He spent an entire conversation smoking the pipe, discussing its theoretical applications, maintaining completely natural behavior. Then, without changing expression, he fired the weapon into a prepared target. The sound signature was minimal, roughly equivalent to a loud hand clap. No muzzle flash because the burning tobacco obscured any flash. No spent casing because the weapon was single shot. The perfect assassination tool. The intended operational use was devastatingly simple. An SOE operative, appearing as a civilian, would approach a German officer in a public space. A cafe, a railway platform, a government building. The operative would be smoking the pipe, appearing relaxed. Natural conversation would develop. Perhaps the German would ask for a light. Perhaps they would discuss the weather. The operative would maintain the interaction, letting the target's guard drop completely. Then, at the critical moment, during a handshake, while offering a cigarette, while leaning close to light the German's cigar, the operative would fire. The muzzle pressed against the temple, behind the ear, base of the skull. One shot, precisely placed, instantly lethal. The operative would immediately depart, pipe still in hand, appearing startled by the target's sudden collapse. Witnesses would see a man having a heart attack, not an assassination. If you're finding this deep dive into British engineering interesting, subscribing helps the channel and ensures you don't miss the next one. The pipe pistol solved every technical problem British intelligence faced. It passed visual inspection. It functioned naturally during searches. It provided contact distance lethality with minimal sound signature. By every measurable standard, Martin Gwilliam had created the perfect assassination weapon. So why was it never taken into service? The Imperial War Museum's catalogue explicitly states the prototype was rejected. The answer reveals something about British strategic thinking that German planners never understood. Training requirements presented the first obstacle. The weapon demanded extraordinary discipline. A nervous operative fidgeting with the pipe, unconsciously rotating the cocking mechanism, accidentally pressing the firing button, these scenarios created unacceptable risks. But the deeper concern was psychological and strategic. The pipe pistol represented a level of social deception that troubled British planners. Offering a light, sharing tobacco, engaging in friendly conversation, then executing the target during that manufactured intimacy, this crossed boundaries that even wartime operations typically respected. The weapon's effectiveness derived entirely from exploiting basic human trust. If the pipe pistol became widely known, if German intelligence captured an example, the consequences would extend far beyond blown operations. German security forces would begin treating every civilian interaction as potentially lethal. Random searches would become invasive. Confiscation of innocuous personal items would become standard. The occupied populations would face even harsher treatment as German paranoia intensified. More critically, if smoking materials became suspect, SOE agents would lose valuable cover behaviors. The ability to appear relaxed, to engage in normal social interactions, to hide nervousness behind casual tobacco use. All these tradecraft elements would be compromised. The decision came from the highest levels. The pipe pistol would remain a prototype. The weapon was simply too perfect at deceiving people during basic social interactions. And Britain, fighting a war against tyranny, couldn't afford to abandon all social trust, even against German occupation forces. While the pipe pistol remained unused, SOE operatives did receive weapons designed for similar missions. The well-rod silent pistol became SOE's standard assassination weapon. Designed by Major Hugh Reeves at Station 9, approximately 2,800 were produced during the war. The weapon was deployed extensively to resistance groups in Denmark, Norway, and France. Danish resistance used well rods against Nazi collaborators throughout 1943 and 1944. The critical difference was obvious. The well rod looked like a weapon. An operative couldn't casually handle a well rod in public without raising questions. The pipe pistol was fundamentally different. An operative could stand at a German checkpoint, pipe in hand, smoking casually, and the weapon would appear completely innocent even during physical search. German intelligence services developed disguised weapons, but never achieved British sophistication. When German forces needed someone dead, they typically used conventional methods. Gestapo arrest, immediate execution, public display of the body. The few German disguised weapons captured show crude engineering compared to British designs. American OSS developed extensive disguised weapons, learning techniques from British SOE. The Stinger pen gun fired single 22 short rounds from devices resembling fountain pens. But these weapons couldn't actually function as pens. An agent couldn't write with one during inspection without revealing the deception immediately. The comparison reveals British engineering philosophy. create weapons that function completely in their cover role first and as weapons second. The pipe pistol could be smoked because Martin Gwilliam designed the tobacco chamber separately from the firing mechanism. The Martin Gwilliam pipe pistol survives in exactly one known location. The Imperial War Museum holds the prototype in their covert weapons collection. The catalogue entry is sparse. Single-shot pistol built in the form of a tobacco pipe. .22 caliber. Prototype never taken into service. That simple notation conceals extraordinary engineering and profound strategic restraint. The weapon exists as physical proof that British engineers could create perfect assassination tools. Its unused status proves British leadership understood when perfect tools shouldn't be deployed. The Martin Gwilliam pipe pistol proved what British engineering could achieve when conventional limitations were abandoned. 6 inches long, 4 ounces, 22 caliber, single shot, smokable while loaded, completely invisible during inspection. The perfect weapon for killing German officers during casual conversation. British intelligence chose not to deploy it. Not because it didn't work, but because it worked too perfectly. The weapon would have created paranoia throughout occupied Europe. German security forces would have confiscated every innocuous personal item. Social trust would have collapsed entirely, and British operations would have suffered more than German forces. This is the essential lesson. Engineering can create perfect tools. Strategy decides when perfect tools shouldn't be deployed. Britain held back the pipe pistol, deployed the well rod instead, maintained just enough social normalcy in occupied territories that resistance networks could function. German officers died by the hundreds, but civilian populations retained minimal trust in daily interactions. And that trust mattered more than a weapon's body count. Vivian Martin Gwilliam created a masterpiece of disguised weaponry. British strategic planners proved something more important. Knowing when not to use your best weapons is sometimes the most critical decision in warfare. The pipe pistol remains in museum storage. One prototype, never used. The weapon too deadly to deploy. That's British engineering meeting British wisdom. That's how you win wars without losing your humanity entirely. One smoking pipe, one bullet, one perfect deception. The weapon Britain was smart enough never to deploy.